All right, let's set the stage. Craig Conroy, May 2023, says we can't go into the season with 7 UFAs. It doesn't make sense. I want to get an idea of where they're at. We have to do what's right for the Calgary Flames. Well, here we are. It's September. What has he done? Dylan and Chris, we're going to talk about it. ArmChair GM Podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network.
What happened to asset management, Chris? I guess 6 pending UFAs is better than 7, but it's still not very fucking good, is it?
Asset management is something that Murray Edwards doesn't allow.
That's right.
Unfortunately, we've had a number of GMs come and go from Calgary, as well as we'll say president of Hockey Op.
Players too,
was
for
here
not much return.
And they've all said the same thing. Things are going to change. we all hoped that Conroy could get it done. We thought maybe he was the guy that's been around the organization long enough to be able to implement that change, but I mean, it's just more lip service from upper management in the Flames head office.
I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, let him, at first I said I want to wait until the draft to see what happens, and then nothing happened, and I was like, okay, well, I'll see what he gets done by the start of the season, and the start of the season's almost here, and he's done nothing besides trade to Foley, and let's be honest, that's not nearly enough.
Well, it's not nearly enough, and he was forced to do that anyway, right? I mean, Toffoli effectively made that change once, the coach that he wanted and one of his best friends were gone from the team. Obviously, Toffoli wanted to move on as well. I don't blame him. He's kind of at a point in his career where he can kind of dictate where he wants to play.
Absolutely. Which is fine. I have no problems with that. I just wish that I wish that Conroy would, and Edwards for that matter, I wish those guys would actually go out and put the hammer down and kind of show that they're in charge, and it not the players. Like, the players obviously have some swing, but at this point he's relinquished power to Hannafin. He's relinquished power to Backlund. He's relinquished power to Lindholm. Last year, relinquished power to Gaudreau and Kachuk. Everybody's got power except for the guys who are on top. It makes no sense.
Yeah. The actual people paid to make decisions and to implement changes don't have a say in any way.
Yeah.
At least that's the optics that we're seeing as a fan base.
Right? It's very concerning. It's really nothing's changed, right?
No. I mean, like I've been a fan of this team since they came here in 1980. Obviously, leading up to 1980 89 was a lot of fun. It was fantastic. Really thought that we had something going here, and then we went sliding into the lean years of the 90s, and just it was bad back then. They couldn't even get people in the stands because nobody was buying what they were selling, right? They were not a good team. They brought in kind of like what they do now, right? They brought in one or two, decent players, but just simply not building a team around it. And so,
and when they have superstars, they're not actually keeping them.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, when you have superstars, you try and lowball them in contract talks, give them bridge deals when they want, long-term solutions, and then you lose them for, some guys for nothing, some for, when you're forced to make trades. So then we're kind of stuck with the hand that we're dealt. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying what Uyghur became by the end of the season, and I'm sure you agree that Huberdeau's not going to be the same player he was last year.
No,
You
no,
know, so
absolutely not. Like,
I'm
but
not particularly worried, but they're not Matthew Kachuk.
no, and I love both those players, and I have no doubt that they're going to be good for the team for the vast majority of their respective contracts. But Matthew Kachuk is like the third best player in the whole fucking league.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
third best forward, maybe second. He, he's damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the ones that ended up with the multiple pieces coming back because the player that left was that good.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was, it's frustrating. It really is. I know you sent me a message earlier today. I mean, you you were you were clearly pissed off, and it's just, I mean, I'm
It was.
assuming it was after watching interviews from the golf tournament and stuff like that. Like there's all sorts of reasons to be irritated by what Craig has done or has not done.
Yep.
And we've got a couple of pending UFAs after this season coming up, and if he can get something done at the deadline, hopefully. But I feel like even then it's going to be other teams dictating because I think we're waiting too long again.
Well, that's what's going to happen if he doesn't like. And I get that he doesn't like the offers that he may have gotten, but if you wait longer, there's only so long you can wait. And then if you wait too long, then there's only one team left in the bidding war, and then all of the all of the power goes to that team, and your player that you're trying to sell has lost all of his value because there's only one place he can go, and you know that team knows that that's the only place he can go.
Well, yeah, 100%. And I'm not suggesting this to be the case, but what if one of those players gets injured through the season? There's so
That
many
too.
different things that can come into play that can hinder the trade value.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Tanev, but knock on wood, you know, he's he's an injury prone guy. He's been fairly good for most of his tenure in Calgary, but he's had a very injury riddled career. And what's the chances of him being hurt at that time?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's
He's
history has
been hurt
shown
for
that the
like 8 years.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure he'll hopefully stop being hurt maybe 3 years after he retires. Right? He's put his body through a lot.
Exactly.
But I mean, I briefly ran into him in town yesterday, and he assured me he's good for another 8 years. He wants to sign another long-term contract.
I do too. I'd like a
You want
few
to sign one too?
million bucks, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Um,
Unfortunately, you don't have Tanev's talent.
no, no,
Sorry, sorry. I
no,
don't mean to offend
no. You're you're correct. I don't have his flow either. And
you.
he
It's
doesn't
true.
have my teeth, so
I'd go with the flow.
yeah, me too. Well, I guess on the bright side, though, he hasn't really lied when he says he's leaving room for like Conroy hasn't lied when he says he's leaving room for young players, right? We have no
Mhm.
PTOs. I don't even know if we have a full roster. I don't think we have a full roster, but we definitely have room for to force Coronado in, force maybe Zari, force Peltier, who should be in. You know, there's room for four or five young guys on the team. The only one there's
I
not
mean,
room for on the team is Wolf.
so I mean, as it is right now, uh, according to Cap Friendly, we're 200,000 over the
Yep.
the the our allowable cap space going into the season. But we only have 21 of 23 players on contract
Mm. So how do we go about
in for
fixing
the
that?
NHL.
We need to
Yeah,
trade somebody.
how do we add to? and add two for just over 100,000 each. I'm sure they'd be willing to do that, right? They pay us to play.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Be interesting to see how the roster moves all work before the season, because they'll be able to do it somehow, but how?
Mm-hmm.
Start
I mean,
Shillington in the minors? But no, he's on a one-way deal, so his salary is still full,
that's right.
right? No.
Was,
You want to get into what a couple of the guys said on the golf course?
do that.
Yeah.
Do that. We got. I think really the main one you wanted to talk about was obviously one of those UFA players in Noah Hannafin that has
Contradicted.
given. Yeah, I mean he's given the idea that he wants to play in the States again, and you know, I mean obviously coming off of last season, everybody was pissed off, so maybe that was his feeling. But I mean, I still think that he wants to not be here
I do
personally, but
too. Here's here's the thing though, is he has said, or I haven't heard that he wants out from him or his agent or the team. I've only heard it from insiders.
right.
So he might. Let's see what he's got to say.
See what he's got to say. I mean, was it Eric Francis, I assume, that told us that he wants out? But let's hear it from him first.
It's excited to get it going.
Craig indicated that in the summer you had suggested that you might not sign here long term, but that door was still very much open. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's just a lot to digest last summer after the year we had not making the playoffs, and a lot of expectations on the team. And for me personally, I just want to see how this year kind of played out a little bit and take my time a little bit. But it's a big year for the group and a big bounce back year for us and me individually as well. So I'm excited to get it going.
What would have to happen for you to consider staying beyond this season?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't really thought too much about it. I think right now it's just about having a good camp. Kind of focusing on the now and coming out and having a good start with the team and winning some hockey games and seeing where it goes from there. It's a great group of guys, great organization, so many good people here. I love the city. So I'm just excited to see how it plays out a little bit.
Are you willing to?
Haven't really thought very much about it. It's 3 weeks before the fucking season starts. Like, Jesus.
How more
It's 4 weeks or
non-committal
whatever.
can you get?
I haven't really thought about it. Well, fucking start thinking about it. Like, Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
not
that's
happy
asinine
about
too.
that.
Yeah, like I understand their stock answers and all that crap. I get that, but I haven't really thought about it. Bullshit.
Yeah, like as if you haven't thought about it when the team has been reaching out to you all summer, and the rumors have been out there. Like, what do you not read Twitter or
Under a rock.
see what it
He
makes no
lives
sense
under a
to me.
rock, apparently. He's completely unfazed by what's happening.
Apparently, apparently in Boston they don't have social media or anything like that because Hannafin doesn't get it anyways when he's there.
Yeah, well, yeah, he probably lives in the wilderness like Lindholm. Lindholm, I can see not really being that up on social media because he seems to actually have a life outside of hockey.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know, man. We need to open up some space. We have like Uyghur came in, right? And to me, Uyghur replaces Hannafin as a
Mhm.
number two defenseman on the team, right?
Yeah.
Better on the power play, just as good at 5-on-5, if not better. Fuck. Let's get some assets back for Hannafin, man.
That's right. Like at this point, I'm not even looking for us to have stud players coming back at all. Like I want draft picks and I want to build this team for the future.
I do too. But
Like I don't want somebody we have to commit 6 mil, 7 mil to at all. Like I don't need another freaking Cadre situation where we're doing a 7x7. Like trade them off for draft picks and some people in that are already playing in the A that might have potential. And let's move on.
I would like that to happen, but I don't think that is what would happen. Like if Hannafin gets traded, I only see it happening for either, another NHL level defenseman or like a top 4 defenseman or another top 6 right winger or something like that, because the mandate is clearly not, get picks and prospects. The mandate is clearly, let's try and be a first round exit.
Out of the 7 players that we have that'll be UFA at the end of the 23-24 season,
6.
who do you?
Toffoli's not there anymore.
It's still 7.
Oh, is it? Okay.
We've got Gilbert in there as well as UFA.
Oh, okay. Right. I mean,
out of the 7, I mean, you can. I mean, Gilbert and whatnot. Like that's such a minor contract. I'm not really worried about that.
I'd also be happy, by the way, if Gilbert played like 60 games. I think he was just fine last year.
I saw no issue, to be honest. Yeah. He stood up for himself. He stood up for other players, which was great to see as well.
And he also just played good defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing flashy, just true defense, which I'm a fan of.
Me too.
But yeah, I mean, so we've got Backlund, we've got Lindholm, we've got Hannafin, we've got Tanev, Zadorov. Right, out of those, who do you see being part of this team next year?
Lindholm, I think, is going, like, he talked on the golf course. He gave a whole bunch of stock answers. He was very straight faced about it. He did say that he's been very clear that he's willing to stay. Just seemed like he didn't want to talk about it. But to me, I don't think he's lying when he says that. I just think that he doesn't want to talk about it. Like, he's not a media guy. He's not a, and not only that, but playing your cards, showing your cards at, to the media is not a good way to go about your business, honestly, on a personal level for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just because Conroy is going to say 70 words when a 3-word answer will do doesn't mean that Lindholm needs to, right?
Yes.
But I do think that he resigns.
Appreciated. Yeah. Yeah, I think he does as well. I think he's pretty much one of the only ones. I can see Tanev moving on. I can definitely see Hannafin not finishing the season.
Me too.
I personally would be okay with Zadorov, especially if he signs again for under 4 mil.
So he said some interesting things on 960 today. He said, well, first of all, I just highly suggest checking out the interview on their podcast. But one of the things he said was that he didn't receive an offer all summer.
That is kind of interesting and surprising to me, to be honest.
Well, he's pretty low on the list.
One player. Well, he is low on the list, but he's also one of the players he's been one of the only ones that has shown a lot of appreciation and it seems to want to continue to play for the Flames.
Absolutely.
He's been very vocal about it. So I think that in itself deserves at least a conversation.
Absolutely. And they even talked about it on the radio, like during his interview there. They said, or he said that he loves Calgary and he wants to stay, and like he can't even explain what it is about Calgary. He just feels at home while he's here, probably because it's cold and windy and he's from Russia. But
Right. That's right. Makes him feel like home.
yeah,
That and he probably doesn't want to go back to Russia right now.
yeah.
Unrelated.
And he said some interesting things about the captaincy thing too. He pretty much just said if it was up to him, he'd rip the A off of Backlund's shoulder and just put the C right on there, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I can see that, right? Because he was the one person in Backlund that
Mhm.
that was standing up to Sutter and really going to battle with him or against him for the players in the locker room. You know,
Right?
that was reported widely that they collided a few times, had a
A
a
few
couple of
match.
FU matches and all that fun stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I can see players appreciating that. You know, obviously you want somebody that's not afraid of big bad Sutter,
Mm-hmm.
and which obviously isn't a thing anymore. But still, you want a guy that's not afraid to just go into the trenches and and tell it like it is on behalf of 22 other players on the team.
I totally agree. Just wish he'd be here. I would be okay if he signed a 1-year extension, Backlund, and was captain. I'm
Yeah,
not.
I don't.
I really don't want him to possibly be traded in 3 weeks and
Right.
but be captain for that long. But I mean, he's 35, so I'm not the biggest fan of giving him the captaincy for 1 year or 2 years, but I also don't want a player to be on a long-term contract at 35. So
Absolutely. Well, when this whole mess started, um, when we let Gio go to Seattle and we needed a captain, we should have had a captain immediately following that. And I think at that point it should have been given to Backlund.
I think it should have been given
Um,
to Matthew Tkachuk, but
yeah, fair point. Um, that's a fair point. I would have been okay with that as well.
I would have been. Don't get
Um,
me wrong, Backlund's a great choice too. He probably would have been the second. He would have been the second
yeah,
on my list
and
for
then
sure.
and then at this point, then you're signing him to a 2-year extension, and you let him ride out his the rest of his time here as a captain for 5 years, right?
Absolutely, and
And
like
then that's my thought on that. But you are right. It likely would have gone to Kachuk at that point.
yeah, and to me, there's no problem having a second or third lines, player as a captain. Like the Jets
Oh yeah,
just put Lowry, just made Lowry their captain. He's not a first liner. He's a second, third liner, line center, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's
Absolutely. Your
whatever.
captain doesn't necessarily mean that he's the best player on the ice.
No.
He's just the best leader.
Hmm.
The right person to lead the charge for the team, whether it be in the locker room, in front of the media, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Do you think who else haven't we talked about? So there's Lindholm, Backlund. I don't think Backlund is going to stay. I don't. I do think Tanev is going to stay if he's offered something, and same with Zadorov. Um, who else am I missing? Shillington. I just don't care. Um,
Well,
not to be
no,
rude.
and I mean, and that's another thing, right? Like his money currently is still in IR, so like it's not even in the
Counted.
it's not even counted in that negative $213,000. So
Yeah,
that's another 2.5 that we have to worry about.
yeah.
So
And
that number
Dubé
is
needs to
closer
be
to 3
signed
mil.
too. I don't think we should lose him.
No, exactly. Yeah, Dubé needs to be signed. Um,
He's a restricted
uh,
free agent, but still, you know, you can't make everybody sweat, right? You can just give somebody like you can extend guys. You don't have to wait until their contract is expired and tender them and a qualifying offer, you can just extend them. When was the last time we did that?
Right. I mean, and there's a huge list of other players that need contracts as well. Like in that RFA class, we got Peltier, we've got Ruzicka needs one in 24, 25. We also have Schwint that needs one. We have Klapka that needs one. Um, Benjamin Jones. Uh, who else? Yeah, like there's a long
Wolf,
list of players. Yeah, correct. Wolf, RFA. Um, Nick DeSimone is a UFA, but so
perfectly good seventh.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, like we're pretty clogged in the D area at the moment. So I
yeah.
mean, it's hard to say if he wins anything there. Um, Kuznetsov needs a contract same year.
Poirier is probably coming up.
Poirier is RFA the following 25, 26.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of things that need to happen in the next couple of years as far as contracts go and decisions from Conroy and I
Isn't
guess
Rasmus
more
2 years
importantly
away?
management. Rasmus has 3 more years on right
Okay.
now, so he's got this year coming up and then 2 more after.
And like,
Same with Coleman. Oh, Coleman's got 4 years this year and 3 after.
yeah, Coleman was the longest signed player up until last summer.
Yeah, up
But
until and Kadri.
and Uyghur, yeah. But yeah, I mean Coleman probably I love Blake Coleman, but once that one comes up, just let him go.
100%.
Whatever.
Like that's 5 mil. He doesn't, as far as points production go, he doesn't provide that. Obviously, he provides a lot more than just points, but I don't think personally, I don't think it's worth 4.9 a season.
By the time it's time for him by the time his contract comes up, Zari's going to be him.
I hope so.
Maybe with a higher offensive upside.
That would
Whatever.
be that would be A, nice, and B, necessary in my opinion.
Absolutely. Got to start using some of these young guys.
Football is back in full swing with another week of epic games. And who's got you covered on all the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code THPN to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
I think my biggest problem, like, I don't have a problem really with what Hannafin said because that's what a player says. Like, obviously, the whole, the whole I haven't thought about it is obviously bullshit, but whatever.
That's the one that pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like give your fan base and the media around it a little more credit.
Fair enough.
Right. I mean,
I
it's what it is. I mean,
just, what Lindholm said, whatever, what Coleman and I know I liked what Zadorov had to say, what Coleman had to say, what a bunch of guys talked over the last few days. I really liked what Tanev had to say, but I'm just so frustrated. And I said it when Conroy got fucking hired. He doesn't have the balls to pull a trigger. And I didn't think that at the time. And I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think this summer has kind of proven it. If he
yeah,
likes a guy, he doesn't have the balls to make a business decision involving that guy.
I think it stems even a bit more than that. I mean, there's probably a very, very large list of people that Craig Conroy likes because he is a very personable guy, and I'm sure he's liked by and does like almost anybody that he encounters.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something that we talked about, when they announced that he was coming in to fill Brad's shoes. We said it on this show that was my biggest concern
Mm-hmm.
is that I didn't think that he had that in him, and he's proved it. I mean,
So far,
so far,
guilty
right?
until
Like,
we're, proven innocent, and he hasn't proven himself innocent yet. So,
no, it's and it's as a fan, somebody that follows the team pretty closely, I don't know. I think the fan base deserves more, especially if you're going to give lip service. If you're going to say it, just freaking well do it.
and you're going into the season with 6 like high leverage UFAs, pending
Mhm.
UFAs. That's not
Yeah,
good. Like,
no, it's
sure,
not.
they might go out and have a great season and raise their stock, and some of them might get traded, or they might go out and have a good season and then leave. Why are you taking the risk? Do something about
That's
it.
right.
Put your
That's right.
foot down. Grow a set.
And as much as we want to give Brian Burke credit for things that he's done and said in the past, one of the things that he has said a couple of times is that when people walk for nothing, and he always goes with they're not walking for nothing. That's valuable cap space. Now, that's a fucking cop out. That's just you didn't get the job done, and you're just trying to justify it.
Yep.
In my
Now,
opinion.
now there are, certain times that's true. Like when you're a contending team and you trade for Tyler Toffoli and he's got only the 1 year left on his contract, but you're trading for him because you're assuming that he's going to be a really good
That's
player, like what New Jersey did. If they let him walk at the end of the season, well, they're a contending fucking team, right?
well, that's
So
right.
that is what
And
it is.
and at that point, I mean, they're just buying a rental, right? And that's understood.
Yeah, when you're
That's not
renting a
somebody
player.
investing years in a player and then letting them walk out the door. Especially when they're still very capable of return.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, no, I think that's absolute garbage. Personally,
And like,
I've seen a couple of people post that on in different threads on Twitter and Facebook, and I don't buy that at all. To me, that's just somebody making up for the fact that they screwed up in the first place.
right?
I mean, yes, cap is very valuable.
Yeah.
However,
And with Tanev, like, I would absolutely love if we got value for him. I like the idea of getting something for him, but I don't think I'll be crushed if all of the other guys get signed or traded and Tanev leaves for nothing. I don't think I'll be crushed because that's just a couple years worth of 4 years, was it, worth of a free agent got
yeah,
high value out of his play, and then he just walked, and that's not a huge deal because you didn't pay anything to get him. Like we paid fucking Dougie Hamilton in a first and or Dougie Hamilton and Ferland and Fox for fucking Hannafin and Lindholm. And if you're letting
Yeah.
both of those guys leave, then all of a sudden we've lost Dougie Hamilton, Adam Fox, and Michael Ferland for nothing.
Great. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. To be honest, like, it's just I don't mind the idea of Tanev walking. It's fine. He'll be 34 once the contract is up. Um, I don't I don't see us getting a lot of return for it.
I think if we're not in the playoffs and it's March and it's the trade deadline, I do think that Tanev is the type of player that you can get a first round pick from a team who's going to be picking 28th to 32nd. You could get a first round pick for him, but it's like basically a second round pick, right?
I mean, if we could get that pick for Chris Tanev, no slight on him because I love how he plays the game. I think obviously you take that and run.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
that's another thing to address is, what happens if, we're planning on trading these or potentially trading these future UFAs, and we're battling for a playoff spot, or we're in that coveted Calgary Flames 8th position, somewhere between 10th and 7th, right? As we
Yeah.
love to be in the West. What happens if we're right in the middle of a battle? Is ownership going to allow a big trade? No, it's not a chance in hell.
Nope.
And then we're right back here going, gee, I wish we should have got, or wish we could have got something for Hannafin, or I wish we could have got something for insert player X,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and that's what I think is truly going to happen with this team for next year. Is we're going to be sitting here going, oh well, thank God we made the playoffs for 6 games.
It's one thing if you're actually making progress, but the Flames do this back and forth between the first round exit, no playoffs, second round, absolute failure, destruction, and then no playoffs, and so that it's just frustrating.
Well, and we've been playing that routine since our 04 run, right?
Yeah.
That's literally all it's been. Playoffs,
Well,
no playoffs. Playoffs, no
yeah,
playoffs, and just hovering around that 10 to, yes, with a couple of, winning the West uh, years
who
in there, that's
cares?
fine. But who cares when you do nothing with it? Who gives a shit?
Exactly. When you're not taking advantage of your home ice advantage, who cares? Like and don't get me wrong, like Dallas is a great team and was pretty good back then too, and Jake Ottinger was good and all that type of stuff. But like when a first round absolute struggle game 7 overtime win is the best memory that like 90% of the fans can think of, there's a
I
problem.
mean, that was a hell of a game though. That game 7.
It was. It was good, and it was
But
great. It
it's
made me feel damn good at the end of it,
oh
and
yeah,
it wasn't even
yeah.
like
By the end,
happy good. It was like relief.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But then of course shortly followed by just an absolute disaster playing Edmonton. So it's like it just completely covered up what success there was for that first round, right? That's all I could envision for like half a week there, 3-4 days was that shot from Johnny beside the net, or effectively behind the net,
Yeah,
sneaking it into a 2.5-inch slot.
very small. And
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. You're frustrated. I think a lot of the fan base is frustrated. I like.
That's just it. We feel like we're not going anywhere. We're just spinning wheels at this
Yeah,
point. And that's my frustration, right? If
yeah,
if I saw them actually trying to make decisions to build a team, I'd be all for it.
absolutely.
Bring it on. Let's trade the works and start over. Whatever.
So
I'm not a retool kind of guy. Let's rebuild.
I mean, if you can pull it off, like Dallas hasn't rebuilt and they're a contender, and they have the Ben and Sagan and Hintz, but they also have Maverick Bork and they've got Wyatt Johnston and they've got Miro Heiskett. Like they've got the next wave of elite players coming in. And that's because they retooled and they sold off a few assets and they drafted well. And we just never do that.
Well, that's right. That's right. Obviously I'm hoping that this past summer we drafted well. We won't know for another couple of years, but
Yeah.
I mean our first pick in that draft, I feel like it's the player that I wanted, at least in that position, and so I just hope that it comes to fruition and he becomes a valuable player in the organization. And
I
that's
don't
that's
think he
another
was the best player available, but I think that he's going to turn out to be a damn good pick.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
But I mean, even at the end of the day, because of where we keep placing, we're doing mid-level picks regardless, right?
absolutely, you have to rely on drafting Johnny Gaudreau at 100 and whatever, right?
Yeah, or Dustin Wolf and stuff like that. These just weird, nobody saw them coming up kind of players. Which, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
we've done it twice in the last 8, 10, 9 years, but is that
Yeah.
really a formula for success? Probably not.
Ferland, I guess, was a late pick, I think, wasn't he? I don't know. It's frustrating. Just one more thing, I think, before we go.
Mm.
There's been reports that obviously Backlund is, first in line to be the captain if he decides to sign, but because he hasn't, um, Anderson's basically the guy from what Francis is saying, anyways. Do you think that's the right choice?
Um, I I'd be okay with it. I If I had a selection ahead of him, I would put Uyghur in that spot.
I'd be
Um,
perfectly happy with either.
yeah, and the reason why I lean more towards Uyghur is he seems to be a better ambassador away from the arena. He does a lot, on social media with when he's doing charity events and things like that. I think that extra step is something that is good for that position. Not saying that Anderson doesn't do extra things outside the arena. You just don't really hear about
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I think they're both similar caliber players. I think they're
it.
both uh they're 1 and 2 on my list either way. You know what I mean? They're tied for first basically. I'd be happy if either of them got the got the C, but um and they both said they want it and they both want to be here as long as possible. Obviously, I mean, Uyghur's signed long term, but you're right. Like Uyghur does go out and you see him all the time talking about. And he joined the Michael Backlund's parachutes for pets thing. He's at all of the golf stuff. I think there was 2 of them throughout the off season. Um, no
Yeah, and he did
hospitals
a
and all
bunch
that
of
stuff.
stuff
And
during the
the
Stampede and Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to see, right?
And they're both really good, like on ice leaders and in the media, like after games and all that type of stuff
Mhm.
too, right? So
Yeah.
either way, I'd
Yeah,
be happy.
absolutely.
I'd, Anderson
On
has been one of my favorite players for a few years, so I'd probably put him slightly over, but I'm easy either
on a
way.
side note that has nothing to do with the captaincy, how good is that Anderson contract looking right now?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, he's got what, another 3 years at 4.55. Come on.
He's providing 8.5 probably worth of value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the amount of minutes he logs and quality minutes too. So
Yeah.
love it. Every time I look at Cap Friendly at the the whole page with the entire team, his is the one that stands out to me, based on price amount, the way they do kind of the breakdown on Cap Friendly. He's like midway in the middle of the defensive core.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of chuckle. It's like he's one of the top players on the team, and it's just such great value.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's kind of that's what Lindholm has been this whole time, right?
right, and that's why he wants to get paid, and it wouldn't be shocked if Anderson, if it's a struggle to get him extended as well, but I feel like it might be a little bit less of a struggle if he's the captain, but that's not why you make a guy the captain. So
No, no, absolutely not. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think we both feel better after having a frustrating media day that we witnessed here today with the golf tournament, and just listening to players and their tone and the things that they're saying or things they're not saying. I think you and I both got our stuff off our chest, so I
yeah,
think we feel a bit better about that. Eh?
pretty freaking furious with what Conroy has to say, but not surprised, just not happy.
Yeah. I did like that message that you sent me. It made me chuckle. I was just in the middle of my day. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
I
it was
was
great.
I had just finished watching that Conroy interview, and I was just straight up mad. I was straight up mad.
I mean, you know, you can't normally get tone out of text, but I got tone out of text. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Well, what's that?
I'm furious. I'm furious.
I was furious.
So
I was
good.
fucking mad, man. I still am. I'm just I'm slightly less emotionally furious. I'm just internally furious now.
That's fair. Do your job,
Um
Craig. That's all we're saying.
yeah.
So we're at that point where we tell you to smash that like button at the bottom. Please share this around with other like-minded Flames fans or non-Flames fans, for all I care. Make sure you comment in the video, and let's have a conversation. If you have suggestions on topics you'd like us to cover, um, just comments in general about what we've said today. Who you think is going to be captain, or who you want to be captain, who you want to keep on the team as far as the pending UFAs, just let us know in the comments section. Um, give us a follow on Twitter at ArmChair GM _pod. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook as well, which I think the majority of our subscribers already do, and we thank you for that.
And subscribe if you're not already.
That's right. Always subscribe. So, Dylan and Chris, the ArmChair GM Podcast, thanks for checking us out again. Cheers, everybody. Go Flames.
Go Flames. Looking forward to another 8th place finish. Woo.